girl invested just $1 in a hurt German Shepherd. What happened next will move you to tears. Lily, with her pigtails bouncing in the warm summer breeze, pedaled down her street, the echoes of laughter intertwined with the soft rustling of cherry blossom petals. She loved these days. The rhythm of bike tires on asphalt matched the beat of her heart. But when she spotted Max, a wounded German Shepherd limping by the curb, a sharp twist flooded her senses. With her heart racing, she thrust out her hand and whisked him to safety, shoving her precious dollar bill into the nearest vet's donation box the next day, feeling like she had just made the biggest commitment of her young life. As the days turned into weeks, Lily's bond with Max deepened. She spent hours tending to his wounds, her small fingers carefully applying bandages. Each moment of shared silence brought a comfort that filled the void her peers had left with their scornful laughter. "Weirdo," they'd whisper, their words echoing like bitter raindrops in her mind during class. But tackling the harsh realities of their ridicule was nothing compared to the determination swelling in her heart. She reminded herself that love is a brave act, not the weak echo of the popular crowd. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Then came that fateful afternoon in the park. They were playing fetch when the aggressive stray dog appeared, its growls burrowing deep into Lily's soul. She froze. Max didn't hesitate. Leaping in front of her, he defended her, charging fiercely at the intruder. In that moment, Lily's heart filled with a dizzying rush of pride and anguish. The other children stopped laughing, eyes wide, witnessing his bravery. Whispers of admiration filled the air. And yet, as she fell in love again with Max, she felt the web of loyalty tighten around her. Each day, after school, uneasiness shadowed her. Max's days in her home were blissful, yet a worry pricked her heart. One evening, she stumbled upon a post on the neighborhood's community board. A family searching for their lost German Shepherd. A pang of grief lanced through her. Could Max be their Max? The thought tormented her, the sweet moments they shared now masked by the weight of coming choices. Lily stood before that poster, frozen in time. Doubt coursed through her. Should she return him, piece together the family's heartache? Would they welcome her with open arms, or would they see her as an outsider? Max turned, his eyes meeting hers, an unspoken connection tethering them together. Caught between love and responsibility, her mind raced. What was the right thing to do when love clashed with loyalty? The whispers in her heart faded, replaced by pangs of unease, eclipsed by a mounting storm of conflict. She envisioned an uncertain future. Would she ever truly let him go? As she closed the door behind her that night, bathed in shadows, the unrelenting questions lingered, swirling like autumn leaves caught in the wind, waiting for a decision, an answer, an outburst of truth. What lay ahead in the choices of love and home? As the night deepened, so did her dilemma, and Max sat faithfully by her side, unaware of the emotional labyrinth they were both trapped within. The following morning dawned with a pale sunlight filtering through Lily's window, beaming like a spotlight on her tumultuous thoughts. She sat up in bed, Max nestled at her feet, the warmth of his body contrasting sharply with the cold shiver of her anxiety. The lost dog poster still loomed in her mind, a specter haunting her with relentless questions. She felt an urgency bubbling inside her, a mix of protectiveness for Max and the moral obligation that beckoned her toward the right path. As she prepared for school, her routine felt different. Every stroke of her toothbrush, every pull of her clothes felt like a preparation for a confrontation. She gazed into the mirror, and for the first time, it wasn't just the reflection of a girl with pigtails. It was a reflection of someone standing at a crossroads, caught between two worlds. Would she stand firm in her newfound love for Max, or prioritize the heartbreaking loss of another family? At school, the chatter around her swirled like a tornado of voices, but Lily's mind drifted elsewhere. Her friends, oblivious to her inner turmoil, happily recounted their summer escapades, a stark contrast to her silent internal battle. She found herself wandering into the art room during lunch, seeking solace in a canvas that begged for color. Painting had always been her sanctuary, a place to express emotions she couldn't articulate. With each brushstroke, she poured frustration, longing, and hope into the empty space. She painted a picture of Max, his eyes glowing with loyalty, surrounded by brilliant shades of love and companionship. In that moment, she realized how much he represented, the light she craved amidst the darkness of her loneliness. The more she painted, the clearer her understanding grew. Max had become more than just a pet. He was a reflection of her hidden strength and the determination to stand for what she believed in. The bell rang, breaking her concentration, pulling her back to reality. A wave of determination surged through her veins as she headed back to her classmates. With every step, she contemplated her next actions, forming plans within her mind. Would she have the courage to confront the family searching for their dog? Would she plead her case, insisting that Max had found a home, a family in her? As she left school that day, she didn't immediately head home. Instead, her feet moved toward the community board, where the lost dog poster still hung. With shaky hands, Lily pulled it from the wall, the paper crinkling in protest. The weight of her decision pressed down on her shoulders as she turned to face the setting sun. It was in that moment she felt an inkling of clarity. Perhaps Max's story could reach beyond her fears. Maybe she could help reunite him with his family and still hold on to the love they had shared. The days of uncertainty had chiseled something stubborn inside her, a resolve that would guide her toward whichever path she chose. With a newfound purpose, Lily headed home to face Max. She could feel the endearing weight of his body against hers as she knelt beside him. "We're going to figure this out," she whispered, full of determination. But this was just the beginning. Could she navigate the delicate balance of love lost and found? As the shadows lengthened outside, the challenge ahead loomed, and the need for a decision grew more pressing. Tomorrow would demand courage. Tomorrow would bring her closer to the truth. What had she yet to discover about herself in this relationship of loyalty and sacrifice? The next morning, a restless energy fueled Lily's movements as she prepared for school. She felt as if she were on the brink of something monumental, a moment that could define her authenticity and strength. Instead of the usual hesitations, she harnessed her anxiety into a blazing resolve, reminding herself that every brushstroke she had painted was a line of truth she could no longer ignore. As she walked to school, the crisp air couldn't cool the heated thoughts in her mind. What would happen if she encountered the dog's family? Would she be able to uphold the weight of their grief while standing firm in her attachment to Max? A part of her feared they would see her not as a girl forging bonds, but as a thief of their memories. That thought, while terrifying, pushed her to dissect her emotions deeper. It became clear that this wasn't just about Max. It was about her own evolution. After entering the art room, she felt the familiar comfort of creativity wash over her. But today it was laced with urgency. Instead of painting, she pulled out her sketchbook to draft a plan, capturing the swirling emotions that gripped her heart. She drew lines connecting her thoughts on loyalty, family, and sacrifice, envisioning a representation of what it meant to love, both deeply and selflessly. Each connection made her feel more capable of confronting this moral dilemma. Lily glanced up to see a few classmates peer over her shoulder, intrigued. "What's that?" one asked, curiosity painted across her face. Lily hesitated, feeling vulnerable, exposing her raw thoughts. But this time, she chose vulnerability. "Just working through some stuff," she replied, a soft smile emerging as she turned the page to reveal deeper sketches. "Cool," her friend responded, eyes sparkling with appreciation. "You should enter your work in that local exhibit next month." Suddenly, the mundane chatter of school seemed less pressing compared to the tumult in her heart. As classes trickled on, Lily's thoughts meandered to the dog's family again. What if she reached out to them, not with reproach but with honesty about her feelings for Max? Could she be brave enough to allow them to share their grief while she shared her love? The uncertainty twisted in her stomach, but it was a discomfort she needed, one that promised growth. When the school day finally ended, Lily found herself outside the local shelter. The sign flickered invitingly as she approached, and the sounds of barking dogs felt like a welcoming chorus. Walking in, she hesitated, anxiety gnawing at her resolve. The woman at the front desk greeted her, and Lily barely managed to ask, "Can you help me find a family for a dog?" The woman sat up straight, her expression shifting to one of understanding. "Sure, tell me about the dog." Lily took a deep breath, recalling the lost dog poster's details. "I think it belongs to someone else, but I need to figure it out," she said slowly. Despite her apprehension, the words gave her strength. This wasn't merely about returning Max. It was about initiating a conversation that could lead her to clarity, both for herself and for the other family. The woman's demeanor softened as she listened, and Lily found herself sharing everything. The joys Max brought her, how he altered her perception of loyalty and love. Each detail poured from her heart, unveiling layers of her growth she had only just begun to understand, when an unexpected question slipped from the woman's lips. "Do you think you could hand over Max if the rightful owners want him back?" Lily's breath hitched. The challenge thrummed in her mind, immediate and vivid. This moment was crucial. She could either safeguard her bond with Max, or embrace this emotional journey to its bitter end. "I don't know," she confessed, a raw edge to her voice. This was the moment of truth, but perhaps nestled in the undertow of her uncertainty, a revelation waited just beneath the surface. Tomorrow would demand every ounce of courage she could summon. What awaited her on this path of moral reckoning? What parts of herself would she uncover to rise above longing? The sun cast long shadows on Lily as she made her way home, the weight of her thoughts wrapped tightly around her like a heavy cloak. The vivid questions swirled in her mind like leaves caught in an autumn gust. What if the dog's family didn't want to see her? What if they blamed her? Each possibility sent ripples of anxiety through her, but amidst this storm, a glimmer of clarity began to emerge. When she opened her front door, the familiar scent of home greeted her, yet it felt different, charged as if it, too, sensed her internal conflict. She tossed her bag aside, but her resolve to confront her feelings remained. Instead of retreating into the confines of her room, she took a seat at the kitchen table. The unfinished sketches and swirling thoughts from earlier made their way back to her, a chaotic representation of everything longing to be verbalized. With a deep breath, she picked up her pencil and began to sketch again. This time, more openly. She drew herself standing at a crossroads, one path leading to the comfort of keeping Max, the other veering into the unknown territory of involvement. Each stroke was deliberate and grounded her amidst the turmoil. Would sharing Max help heal a wound she had not been a part of? Would it liberate her from the fluctuating loyalty she felt? Drawing helped clarify her hesitation. Her attachment to Max contrasted sharply with a growing understanding of sacrifice. For the first time, she realized that true love often meant placing another's needs above one's own comfort. As the sun set outside, Lily turned the pages of her sketchbook. Each drawing morphed into a question mark, revealing not just her yearning for connection, but also a burgeoning empathy for the family left behind. What would they feel, seeing Max? Joy for finding him again, or sorrow that he had been away? She felt a burning need to express this conflict, and with every sketch, she articulated her burgeoning willingness to confront her fear. The next day, a reluctant plan unfolded in her mind. She couldn't put off facing the dog's family any longer. With each step she took towards the shelter, her heart hammered. The weight of anxiety transformed into a charge of determination. No longer was this solely a decision about Max. It was about making amends and forging a connection based on honesty and compassion. The familiar flicker of the shelter's sign welcomed her again. But today, it felt like a beacon illuminating her truth. This time, she approached the front desk with purpose, no longer carrying just uncertainty, but equipped with intention. The woman from yesterday greeted her, eyes wide with renewed curiosity. Lily hesitated, swallowing her nerves. "I want to meet his family." The words resonated loudly in her thoughts, echoing her commitment to be exposed and honest. She could picture the family's faces, their hope mingled with sadness. Lily was ready to forge this difficult path. As the shelter staff prepared to contact the family, Lily's heart raced with a mixture of dread and exhilaration. There was no turning back. She had stepped onto a road of personal confrontation, and whatever awaited her on the other side was bound to reshape who she was. A sudden thought struck her, throwing her into a brief spiral. Would they understand her attachment? Would they accept her deep feelings for Max? This moment was turning pivotal. If she faced them, would she find acceptance, or would she walk away with a heavier burden? Only time would reveal the stakes of her decision. As she stood poised to embark on this journey, she realized something profound. Strength thrived not in silence but in the courage to be vulnerable. Tomorrow, the truth would unfold. But what would it reveal about her own capacity for love? Feathered doubts mixed with newfound resolve whispered in her heart, urging her forward into the unknown. The following day dawned with an unsettling calm, the air thick with anticipation. Lily awoke with an electric pulse thrumming beneath her skin, the gravity of her choice looming larger than ever. The decision to meet Max's family pulsated in her chest, an echoing reminder of the connection she wished to both honor and redefine. She felt moments of doubt creep in like shadows in the early morning light. Would she be able to articulate her feelings? Would they listen? After hurried preparations, she slipped on the shoes she had chosen from the corner of her room. Practical and comfortable, meant for walking into the unknown. Each step toward the shelter felt weighty, grounding her resolve amidst the swirling doubts. Clenching her fists slightly, she repeated a mantra in her head. I am here to heal. I am here to connect. The shelter appeared the same as always, but to Lily it radiated an unfamiliar intensity. The familiar sense of disinfectant mixed with anticipation wrapped around her as she took a deep breath. Upon entering, she approached the front desk, where the same woman was now busy organizing papers. Her eyes flicked up, curiosity melding with sympathy. Are you ready? She asked gently. More than ready, Lily replied, though her voice betrayed an uncertainty she hoped to mask. The woman nodded and discreetly initiated the process of contacting Max's family, while Lily's heart raced, thrumming against her ribcage like a trapped bird. Minutes felt like hours as she waited, shifting nervously, her fingers tracing the edges of her sketchbook under the table. This sketchbook, filled with her raw emotions, now felt like a silent witness to her resolve. Finally, a young couple entered the shelter, their anxious expressions glimmering with both hope and vulnerability. They searched the room with weary eyes before locking onto Lily, who felt like a deer caught in headlights. For a fleeting moment, a paralyzing fear washed over her. How could she convey her feelings, establish a connection that transcended their mutual love for Max? The shelter staff introduced them, explaining who she was and why she sought this meeting. Their faces shifted from curiosity to a blend of hope and cautious expectation. Lily experienced an overwhelming urge to defend her bond with Max, to explain the piece of herself he represented. Thank you for coming, she started hesitantly. I know Max means so much to you. He's brought so much joy into my life as well. Every eye in the room turned to her, measuring the sincerity of her words. The man's brow furrowed, and the woman looked at her with an intensity that disarmed Lily, forcing her to confront her own emotional vulnerability. What do you mean? The woman asked, her voice steady but edged with raw emotion. I mean, keeping Max safe and happy is paramount, but I also found a part of myself through him. Lily swallowed hard, feeling the weight of her admission. I've drawn him in so many forms. I suspect that's how I've been processing everything. The couple's guarded expressions softened. There seemed to be an understanding growing in the air, a quiet acknowledgement of shared love. In that exchange, an invisible thread wove between them as their guardedness began to dissipate. An unspoken communication evolved, the kind that transcends both words and intentions. The man stepped forward, and for a brief moment, it felt like the world stood still. Max will always be part of our family, he said, his voice surprisingly steady. But we see how much he means to you as well. Lily nodded, her heart a mix of relief and anxiety. They were beginning to understand, and this connection felt like the first stone laid in a bridge between their lives. Yet deep within, she felt something shift, an urgency dawning upon her. She needed to confront one last truth. I want to participate in Max's life moving forward, if you're open to that. The question hung in the room, heavy with implications, testing not just their willingness to accept her, but her own desire for deeper connection, one filled with shared joy and heartache. What would their response reveal? Would they accept her, or would she walk away with another burden to carry? Lily felt her heart pounding as she awaited their reaction, aware that this moment could change everything. The silence that followed felt like a weight pressing down on Lily's chest. She held her breath, her pulse echoing in her ears as she searched their expressions for a clue. The man glanced at the woman, who closed her eyes for a heartbeat, collecting herself, the tension palpable. Lily's palms felt slick against the sketchbook, the need for connection coursing through her like a live wire. Finally, the woman exhaled softly, her eyes opening again to meet Lily's gaze. "It's not just about Max," she replied, her tone carrying an unexpected gentleness. "It's about what comes next for all of us. Our hearts will always have a place for him. But we need to know how this will work." Lily felt a swell of hope, the knot in her stomach loosening. "I want to be there for him. I can't promise I have all the answers, but I know I want to support him and your family. I want to be part of his story." The man nodded slowly. "What does that look like? How do we make room for you while we're still grieving?" His words struck a chord deep within Lily. It wasn't just a process of acceptance. It was about carving out a shared future that respected both their bond with Max and her evolving place in it. "I'd like to draw him again together with you. I want to create something meaningful, but more than that, I want to listen, to hear about him as you share your memories. Maybe we can meet regularly." As her intention spilled forth, an unfamiliar clarity sharpened her resolve. This wasn't merely a wish to connect. It was an actionable step towards merging their paths. She could sense the shift in the room. Both their defenses were lowering, allowing them to consider the potential for a shared journey. The couple's expression softened further, revealing a flicker of possibility amidst the sorrow. The woman leaned in closer, speaking with renewed purpose. "We have so many stories about Max. If you're willing to learn, we'd love to share. But we also hope you'll bring your own experiences into it." A sense of elation enveloped Lily. This was what she had longed for, acceptance not just as a bystander in Max's life, but as a collaborator of sorts in remembering him and supporting their future. The idea lit up her mind, each flicker of connection fueling her spirit. But as the conversation deepened, a subtle tension seeped back in. Lily recognized the fragile balance they were attempting to strike. The man suddenly spoke, concern etched into his features. "But grief doesn't resolve. What happens if our pain becomes too much?" Her heart sank momentarily. The weight of uncertainty sprang back. Just as Max would always be a part of their lives, so too would the grief. Lily considered this challenge. She had to navigate her own feelings alongside theirs. Passion and pain couldn't be separated in their interactions. "I understand," she responded, her voice steady, infused with empathy. "Healing isn't linear. We'll all have our moments. But opening this door means we're choosing to confront that uncertainty together. If we can share the joy and the sorrow, it might be easier to bear." The couple exchanged another look, and in that moment, something deeper blossomed in the room. An understanding that life's complexities demanded vulnerability from all involved. As they finally started sharing anecdotes about Max, a sense of warmth enveloped them, a bond forming amongst the shadows of grief and hope. It felt like a step forward, but the reservations remained, ghosts lingering in the peripheries of their conversation. Yet, beneath their shared laughter and heartfelt stories, an underlying fear hinted at the potential for conflict ahead. The risk of indecision loomed in Lily's mind. How to maintain her place without overstepping, while still asserting her role in the fabric of their collective experience of healing. Lily left the shelter that day feeling both uplifted and unsettled, a volatile mix of hope and uncertainty weaving like a tempest into her thoughts. How could she truly hold these new connections while facing the reality of lingering pain? With the weight of unresolved questions pressing against her heart, she couldn't shake the sense that this was just the beginning. As she looked ahead, thoughts swirling in her mind, one question echoed louder than the rest. How would they all learn to navigate their intertwined paths when the pain of loss threatened to overshadow their newfound bond. Lily's days following that pivotal conversation felt like a tightrope walk. Each moment was a delicate balance of her growing commitment to Max's family and her own trepidations about entering a realm of grief that wasn't entirely hers. She found herself enveloped in thoughts of their interactions, reliving the narratives exchanged, her mind, a vessel pouring over with possibility and dread alike. In these reflective hours, she sought ways to bolster her resolve. She began sketching again, not simply to document memories of Max, but to visualize her role in this blended tapestry of connection and remembrance. Each line she drew articulated a part of her newfound purpose. Soft curves capturing their shared laughter, sharp angles framing their sorrow. As her pencil danced across the pages, she felt herself transforming. The art was not just about recreation, it was an invocation of resilience, a way to chart her evolving identity. But with each stroke came an unbidden awareness of the looming uncertainty. The whispers of doubt entered her sanctuary, a nagging voice questioning her place in their lives. She often wrestled with the fear of imposing, of becoming too entangled in their grief. The question hung overhead. What if her intentions fell short? What if she stumbled? Each day she confronted that voice anew, reminding herself that growth required risk, that healing also necessitated vulnerability. Determined to dispel her insecurities, Lily organized a gathering for the three of them to share memories in an artistic space. She wanted the atmosphere to radiate warmth and openness, so she spent hours choosing the right objects, photos, candles, and the freshly baked brownies, still warm from the oven, that carried a hint of chocolate on the cool autumn air. As they gathered in her apartment, a sense of excitement mingled with anxiety fluttered in her stomach. Their initial greetings were hesitant, but gradually thawed into shared chuckles and stories. The couple detailed idiosyncrasies of Max, how he adored funny movies, how his laughter was the kind that lit up a room. Lily's heart swelled as they pushed through the painful currents to find joy in remembrance, and she offered their memories visual embodiment, sketching rapidly to capture their anecdotes as they flowed. Yet amidst the laughter, tension snagged within her. The deeper they delved into Max's life, the more she detected the shadows of their grief looming ever closer. Credit to her resolve, she raised the brave question: how do we honor him, and still acknowledge the reality of our pain? The room fell silent. The vulnerability in her voice hung like a low fog, thickening the air. It was a bold inquiry, laden with risk. She could feel the weight of their grief pressing down, their expressions a compound of recognition and trepidation. But something shifted within her, a realization that perhaps vulnerability was the first step toward true connection. The woman finally broke the stillness with a shaky smile. It's scary, isn't it? Confronting what we've lost while trying to celebrate. But it feels right, sharing these moments with you. Lily sensed something profound in her words. An opening, a shift. Together they could chart an uncertain pathway through their shared existence. Perhaps acknowledgement could indeed coexist with the instinct to remember, much like contrasting shades of paint vibrant on canvas. As the night deepened, the stories continued to unfold, and the laughter intertwined with tears didn't stifle, but rather nourished the atmosphere of connection. Yet, a truth loomed just beyond them. The deeper they ventured into remembrance, the more perilous their path could become. Willingness gave way to revelation, and with it came the undeniable urge to confront the emotions that wrapped them in a tentative embrace. Lily's heart raced, contemplating the frailty of the moment. This venture felt significant, yet uncertainty tinged it. How much depth would they ultimately be ready to explore, and where could that exploration lead them all? Would they falter at moments too raw to bear? As her heart beat rapidly, she grappled with the realization that perhaps her own fears were mirrors to theirs. And as the evening closed, she couldn't shake the sensation of a looming shadow, reminding her that their journey was fraught with emotional scales yet to be balanced. How would they navigate the fine line between joy and sorrow as they sought to honor Max's memory? Lily awoke the following morning with the soft light of dawn creeping through her curtains, illuminating the sketches strewn across her workspace. Each drawing held a piece of the emotional tapestry they had woven the night before. She traced the lines of her latest piece, a visual conversation between laughter and sorrow, and sensed a strange comfort in the chaos. It was a reminder of her own evolution in the midst of grief. Though the warmth of connection lingered, the weight of the previous evening's revelations pressed heavily on her mind. The question she had posed still echoed within her. How do you honor someone while simultaneously facing the pain of their absence? It fluttered anxiously, like a bird trapped in a cage. Today, she would confront that unspoken fear, not just for Max's family, but for herself. Lily signed up for a local art workshop, a decision inspired not by her professional lens, but by a longing to bridge the emotional distance she sensed between herself and Max's family. She had always used her art as a means of self-exploration, an extension of her inner thoughts. But today she intended to create with purpose, to learn techniques that could empower her to tell their shared story in a way that embraced both the light and the shadows. As she walked into the studio later that morning, the familiar scent of paint and varnish enveloped her. It was both invigorating and intimidating. There were others there, a mix of seasoned artists and enthusiastic novices, and despite the warmth of the space, a knot tightened in her stomach. What if she wasn't good enough? What if they saw her as an outsider? Yet she took a deep breath and reminded herself of the commitment she had made. Throughout the lesson, Lily lost herself in the act of creation. Each brushstroke was a confrontation with her doubts, and she found herself daring to express emotions she had previously suppressed. As she mixed colors, she recognized her own fears reflected in the paler shades of paint. With each dip of the brush, she began to realize that vulnerability need not be synonymous with weakness. Instead, it could manifest as strength, a quiet confidence that was building within her. After the class, a fellow artist approached her, intrigued by the pieces she had created. Their conversation blossomed naturally, her insecurity melting away as she shared her journey, and the recent emotional exploration spurred by Max's family. They spoke of the struggles and triumphs in their respective art, relating it back to their lives outside the studio. Lily felt a flicker of pride ignite within her. She was not alone in her fears. The connection they cultivated sparked a revelation in Lily that surprised her. Mentorship. In sharing her struggles, she could potentially guide others through similar emotional landscapes, enriching both her growth and the growth of those around her. The thought was intoxicating yet daunting. Could she truly navigate this path herself? That evening, as she prepared to meet Max's family for another round of storytelling, a blend of excitement and anxiety churned in her stomach. The energy from her workshop still glimmered in the back of her mind, spurring her to consider the possibility of facilitating art sessions that blended remembrance and healing. But hesitation pricked at her resolve. What if her ideas didn't resonate? What if she put herself and her goals forward, yet fell short in their eyes? The vulnerable terrain she was prepared to tread made her question whether she could truly honor Max, while also establishing her voice in their shared narrative. With each step toward their meeting, she felt the weight of those questions morphing into determination. She needed to find her place as both artist and emotional anchor in this fragile web of connections, but also as a person who was unafraid to embrace uncertainty. As the door opened to let in the warm glow of their living room, she felt herself teeter once again on that tightrope of vulnerability. How would she weave her newfound resolve and artistic vision into their shared journey? And would they welcome her, allowing their paths to intertwine in the way she needed? Night enveloped them as she thought of the emotional unveiling ahead. In this delicate balance of commitment and doubt, she sensed that only the truth of their stories could guide her. And that was a risk worth taking. The next chapter of this narrative awaited her, pulsing with endless possibilities and profound revelations just out of reach. As Lily stepped over the threshold into the familiar yet emotionally charged atmosphere of Max's family home, a wave of nostalgia washed over her. She was greeted by soft whispers and the gentle sound of laughter, which caused her heart to flutter with hope and trepidation. Today could mark a new beginning, or it could plunge her deeper into uncertainty. She inhaled deeply, mentally preparing herself for what lay ahead. Gathering herself, she could already feel the seedlings of doubt sprouting in her mind. What if they were still profoundly mired in grief, unable to engage with her ideas? What if they saw her attempts to connect as intrusive? With each thought, her resolve wavered. Yet, The thought of sharing her art as a pathway for healing fought against the nagging fears. She reminded herself of the beauty found in vulnerability, a theme she hoped to explore through her work. As she entered the living room, she was immediately struck by the sight of Max's siblings, their eyes reflecting a mix of lingering sorrow and flickering warmth. Today, they'd arranged colorful cushions around a low table, creating a circle that exuded openness and comfort. Lily felt an almost magnetic pull toward that space, as though part of her was seeking solace in their shared experience. "Hey, Lily!" shouted one of Max's sisters, her eyes brightening with genuine warmth. "We were just talking about some of Max's favorite moments. Would you like to join us?" Starting with laughter about shared memories, the group moved through the spectrum of emotions. As stories flowed, each one a brushstroke painting their collective grief and joy, Lily listened intently, feeling a familiar stirring within her heart. A spark ignited. If their experiences were colors, she could create a canvas to encapsulate their journey, one that honored Max while providing space for the complexities of sorrow. Her heart pounded with each anecdote shared, yet an overwhelming realization dawned on her amid the storytelling. She didn't have to bear this weight alone. Perhaps, in sharing her vision of art as a healing medium, she might inspire a collaborative creation, a piece that would memorialize Max and facilitate their collective healing process. "Would you all be open to something different today?" Lily finally ventured, her voice trembling with anticipation. "I've been thinking about creating a mural together, something that embodies our memories of Max while incorporating our individual stories." Pause. The air thickened with the weight of possibility as they exchanged glances, some skeptical, yet others intrigued. It was as if she had thrust a method for catharsis into their midst. Anxiety gripped her. What if they shut her down? But as she watched their reactions, the flicker of curiosity broke through their initial hesitation. "Let's do it," Max's brother finally said, breaking the silence. "It could be a good way to remember him, for all of us." A wave of relief washed over her, solidifying the unique opportunity before them. This was a breakthrough, not only to create art, but to forge an emotional landscape together. They could heal and express their grief through collaborative creativity, transcending their individual experiences in a shared journey. As they busied themselves gathering supplies, Lily caught glimpses of the excitement mingled with apprehension on the faces around her. Her heart raced. They were at the threshold of something transformative. This collaborative mural could be a testament to their unity. It was a chance for her to strengthen her role as both an artist and an emotional anchor. Yet beneath this emerging clarity lay a knot of anxiety that refused to vanish. What if she was unable to lead them through the complexities of their emotions? What if her own limitations turned their artistic explorations into chaos instead of cohesion? The question hung heavily in the air. Would she rise to meet this challenge or falter in the face of their expectations? With every brushstroke that lay ahead, she realized the depth of trust and vulnerability they were about to embark on together. This was risky terrain she wished to traverse, kindling a sense of urgency to step forward. As they readied themselves to begin creating, a revelation surged within her. She wasn't just an artist. She was a conduit for their stories to take form. The true test would not only be crafting the mural, but nurturing the connections underlying their shared grief. Little did she know just how deeply this endeavor would uncover the dormant strength within her, forcing her to confront the very questions that had haunted her. With a final glance at her companions, determination pulsing through her veins, she stepped into the pivotal moment. But before the first brush met canvas, a sudden knock at the door sent ripples of uncertainty through the room. Who could it be? The knock reverberated through the living room, momentarily halting the anticipation that had built up like a tightly coiled spring. Lily felt her heart leap into her throat, uncertainty crackling in the air. The group looked at each other, eyes wide, and for a fleeting moment the weight of the moment thickened. "Should I get it?" Lily asked, her voice tinged with a blend of eagerness and apprehension. The others nodded, curiosity tracing their features. As she approached the door, a melody of vulnerability and purpose coursed through her. She was on the cusp of unveiling a new chapter, a melding of memories and creativity. but who stood on the other side could alter that trajectory in unforeseen ways. When she swung the door open, her breath caught as she was met with the familiar faces of the couple who had once looked for their lost dog. Behind them stood a timid child clutching a plush toy and a faint, hopeful smile. The couple's expressions mirrored apprehension mixed with wonder as they took in the scene, creative tools strewn about, signs of energy and emotional engagement. "Lily?" The woman spoke hesitantly, her voice a touch choked with emotion. "We were hoping to find you here." Lily tilted her head, still processing this unexpected reunion. They looked like kindred souls, stirred into a singular moment, everyone bound by love for Max. This was a pivotal intersection in their shared narrative. "Yes, it's me. Come on in," Lily gestured, ushering them into the space. The warmth of her home embraced them, a safe harbor amid the storm of emotions. As they settled into the circle, the atmosphere shifted. The child eyed the wall, dented with artistic expressions, while the adults exchanged silent glances, trying to comprehend the entanglement of both joy and trepidation within this weaving of disparate lives. With a pointed gaze at the mural in progress, Lily felt a surge of energy course through her. Maybe the path forged by the joy and grief of collective storytelling was intricately tied in ways they couldn't yet fathom. "We were just talking about creating something special to honor Max," she offered with deliberate gentleness, hoping to bridge any lingering apprehensions. His former family exchanged hesitant expressions, weighing their next words delicately. The man finally spoke, his voice soft yet firm. "We've missed him dearly, and we could feel something was brewing here." An electric pulse filled the air, mixing hope with the raw emotions that had unspooled over the past days. "Perhaps there's room for all of us to create together," Lily continued. "Shedding light on both our memories could reveal a beautiful canvas of our shared love for him." As the prospect settled, the woman nodded slowly. "We would love to be part of honoring him." Just as Lily sensed a wave of connection surging, she was startled by the child's soft voice cutting through, filled with hesitant excitement. "Can I help too? I have lots of stories to tell about Max." Lily felt a swell of exuberance ripple through her. "Of course, everyone can contribute." Turning to the adults, she added, "It might not be easy, but creating together could help us all find some closure." What followed was a cascade of voices, memories spilling into the open space, laughter mingling with tears, sharing moments that encapsulated Max's spirit and joys. The sketching supplies transformed into vessels of healing, music to their hearts harmonizing with every brushstroke, each person stepping into that moment bravely. Side by side, they all began to portray snippets of their shared bond with Max, his playful antics, the warmth of companionship, and the quiet conversations he had initiated between fragmented families. The mural evolved into a kaleidoscope of colors, love capturing the emotional complexity they had come to embody, portraying both grief and healing in the same breath. Hours melted away as they danced between lighthearted notes and somber acknowledgments, stitching together the vivid memories that entwined their lives. As Lily shared her visions, the mural began taking shape, a rich tapestry revealing how one dog's spirit could unite two families in a transformative dance of love and sorrow. Through this creative journey, Lily surged beyond her own uncertainties. The interconnectedness fueled hope, forming a narrative not just about loss, but about rebirth and resilience, where every individual became a brushstroke in a communal masterpiece. And in that shared moment, she conquering fear and uncertainty was no longer just a singular experience. It was a collective evolution. When the last brush was set down and the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm glow upon the creation they had fashioned, Lily took a step back, her heart swelling with pride and accomplishment. They had all stepped into uncharted waters and risen together, igniting each other's spirits and tapping into the depths of newfound authenticity. What stood before them wasn't just a mural, it was an affirmation of transformation, a testament to their shared legacy with Max. This journey had catalyzed her growth, empowering her to establish a voice not just for herself, but for their intertwined stories, a journey of empathy, vulnerability, and profound connection. As they all exchanged glances, a sense of closure filled the room. Their hearts had woven together threads of healing, indelibly altering each of their paths. This was Lily's definitive achievement, ushering in a new era of shared memories that went beyond grief, encapsulating the beauty of connection and growth. Looking around at the newfound family she had forged, an unwavering confidence burst through her. She understood now that life's complexities were a vital part of the journey. They would walk together through it, hand in hand, embarking on a narrative of resilience, but above all, finding joy through the shared experiences imprinted on their hearts forever. This was the moment she had yearned for, the realization that growth could blossom amidst sorrow, binding them all together in a world where love transcends loss. The lifeblood of those experiences pulsed through her, propelling her into the future she now felt worthy to embrace. And as the weight of their collective journey mingled with the beauty of what lay ahead, she knew this was merely the beginning of her art, as a testimony to the strengths found in these emotional depths. This was her home now, the sacred space where the narratives of love, loyalty, and hope intertwined, ushering in a new legacy marked by enduring connection. Support the channel that brought you this moving conclusion. You need to subscribe now to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories that inspire. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help spread these powerful journeys. Comment your reactions and theories about the ending below, sharing your thoughts on transformation and healing. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. It's time to show your support for the stories that matter.